Money can't break family bonds. My mother always said. But here I am, signing the papers that will legally block my entire family from accessing my accounts. The irony isn't lost on me. It took $115,000 to finally understand what those bonds were really made of. The lawyer slides another document across his mahogany desk. And this one, he says, tapping a yellow sticky note, will file the official cease and desist order. My hand doesn't shake as I sign. 5 years of late nights, cancelled plans, and endless spreadsheets flash through my mind. Every dollar I earned, every promotion I celebrated, every sacrifice I made, it all led to this moment. My phone buzzes. Mom's calling again. Probably about the $28,000 they need for their European vacation. The vacation I wasn't invited to. I let it ring. It's funny how clearly you can see things once you stop trying to look through the lens of family loyalty. The memories flood back, starting with that day 5 years ago when I was still naive enough to believe that family meant something different. I was 26, in my final year of graduate studies, when the first call came. Dad's voice was unusually quiet on the phone. "Natalie, honey, we need to talk about something." The background noise told me he was at the hardware store where he worked part-time. That should have been my first warning sign. My father, a former corporate manager, working retail at 60. "What's wrong, Dad?" "The twins' college tuition. We're a bit short." The hesitation in his voice made my stomach clench. Justin and Sophia, my siblings 9 years my junior, were about to start their freshman year. "We've tried everything, but with the housing market crash and your mother's medical bills from last year." I knew what was coming. I'd been there before, writing checks to help with property taxes, unexpected car repairs, new appliances. But this was different. This was tuition for two. "How much?" I asked, already pulling up my bank account. $40,000. For the first year. That night, I recalculated my budget for the 100th time. My fellowship stipend, teaching assistant salary, and small inheritance from grandma, it would be tight, but I could make it work. The next morning, I handed over my savings. Mom cried, hugging me tight. "You're such a good daughter," she whispered. "We'll pay you back as soon as we can." We both knew they wouldn't. The twins started college that fall. I threw myself into my research, picking up extra teaching hours and freelance work. Every month, a portion of my earnings went to my parents' account. Meanwhile, Justin and Sophia thrived. Their social media was filled with party photos, spring break trips, new clothes. Neither had a part-time job. "They need to focus on their studies," Mom would say. "College is for learning, not working." I bit my tongue, remembering my own undergraduate years, full course load, 2 part-time jobs, and endless nights of studying. But they were the babies, the golden children. Always had been, always would be. Fast forward to last month. I was sitting in my boss's office, staring at an email that would change everything. After years of grinding, of cancelled weekends and missed social events, I'd finally gotten the promotion. Senior Project Director. The salary increase made my eyes water, $115,000 plus benefits. Mom called immediately after I left the office. "Are you coming for dinner tonight? Your father made his famous pot roast." I hesitated. Family dinners weren't exactly my idea of celebration anymore, but I hadn't seen them in weeks. "Yeah, I'll be there around 6. I pulled up to my parents' modest suburban home at 6:15. Dad was in his usual chair, watching TV. Mom was setting the table. The twins were glued to their phones. We sat around the table, passing dishes back and forth. Dad talked about his part-time job, Mom mentioned her book club, Justin complained about job hunting, and Sophia scrolled through Instagram under the table. "I have some news," I said during a pause. 4 pairs of eyes looked at me with mild interest. "I got promoted today. Senior Project Director. It comes with a pretty big raise." The reaction was unexpected. "That's wonderful, honey," Mom exclaimed, reaching over to squeeze my hand. "About time they recognized your talent," Dad added, looking proud. Justin and Sophia exchanged glances. Way to go, sis, Justin said, offering a fist bump. That's awesome, Natalie, Sophia added. Does this mean you're buying dinner next time? We all laughed, and for the first time in years, I felt seen. Really seen. For the next 20 minutes, I talked about my job, my team, the big projects we were starting. They asked questions, seemed interested. It was like I'd stepped into some parallel universe where my achievements mattered. The next few weeks were a blur. I threw myself into work with renewed energy. My team was incredible, smart, dedicated people who were excited about our projects. Then the calls started coming. Natalie, honey, can you help us with the property tax bill? It's higher than we expected this year. Hey, sis, my laptop died. Can you spot me $2,000 until I find a job? Natalie, dear, the car needs repairs. Your father's hours got cut again. Each request was reasonable. Each amount was manageable. And each time, I transferred the money without hesitation. They were my family, after all. The twins started texting me regularly, which was new. They'd never shown much interest in my life before. Now they wanted to know how my day was, what I was working on, if they could come over for dinner. Your place is so much nicer than Mom and Dad's, Sophia said one evening, sprawled on my couch after demolishing the pasta I'd made. Yeah. And your fridge is always full, Justin added, helping himself to another beer. Must be nice having all that money, Sophia said, examining her nails. I laughed it off, but something about her tone made me uneasy. I work hard for it, I reminded them. Sure, Justin said, pulling out his wallet. Speaking of which, can I borrow $500? Car insurance is due. I handed him the cash without comment. What else could I do? They were family. Now, sitting in my lawyer's office, I realized that was the moment I should have seen it. The moment when family became a transaction, when love became measured in dollar signs and bank transfers. My phone buzzes again. A text from Mom, please, Natalie. We need to talk about the Europe trip. The twins have been looking forward to it. It's only $28,000 for the four of us. 4 of us. Not 5. Never 5. I pick up the last document. The restraining order. Is this really necessary? The lawyer asks, his eyes kind. I think about my birthday last week. The empty private dining room at La Maison. The unanswered calls. The text from Mom, this is what happens when you're selfish and don't help your family. Yes, I say, signing my name one final time. It's necessary. Outside, the sun is setting, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. My phone is quiet now, the notifications all muted. For the first time in years, I feel light. Free. Sometimes, it turns out, money can break family bonds. But maybe, just maybe, those bonds needed breaking all along. 3 months into my new role, we completed our first major project ahead of schedule. The client was thrilled, the company made a fortune, and my team got the recognition they deserved. I received a substantial bonus, enough for a down payment on my own place. That night, I opened a bottle of wine and called my realtor friend, Derek. I want to buy a place, I told him. Something in the city. Good neighborhood, nice layout. I've got enough for a decent down payment now. About time, Derek said. Let me see what I can find. I didn't tell my family about my plans. I wanted it to be a surprise, something to celebrate. For once, I'd be putting myself first, and I couldn't wait to see their reactions. For the next month, Derek sent me listings almost daily. Some were too small, others too far from work, and many were way outside my budget, even with the bonus. But finally, he found it, the perfect apartment in the heart of downtown. It's got everything you wanted, Derek said as he unlocked the door. 2 bedrooms, open layout, and when I walked to the windows, I gasped. The city skyline stretched before me, glittering in the afternoon sun. The kitchen had gleaming countertops and new appliances. The master bedroom was spacious with a walk-in closet. What's the catch? I asked, certain there had to be one. Derek shrugged. No catch. Owner's relocating overseas and needs to sell quickly. If you want it, we should move fast. I signed the paperwork that afternoon, using my bonus for the down payment and securing a mortgage for the rest. For the first time in my life, I owned something substantial, something that was just for me. Meanwhile, the calls and texts from my family continued to increase. Natalie, your father's back is acting up again. We need to hire someone to mow the lawn, Mom said one evening. How much? I asked automatically, already reaching for my banking app. Just $400. You're such a good daughter. 2 days later, Justin texted asking for money to fix his car. The day after that, Sophia needed cash for a job interview outfit. Each request came with effusive thanks and promises to pay me back someday, promises we both knew they wouldn't keep. I didn't mind that much, though. I was making good money, and it felt nice to be appreciated, even if it was just for my financial support. Saturday morning, I woke up filled with excitement. I was going to tell my family about the apartment. I imagined their reactions, surprise, joy, maybe even a little pride in what I'd accomplished. I spent the morning baking Mom's favorite lemon bars to bring over. When I arrived, the house was quiet. Dad was dozing in his recliner, the TV murmuring in the background. Mom was at the kitchen table, sorting through bills with a furrowed brow. The twins were nowhere to be seen. They went out with friends, Mom explained when I asked. Should be back for dinner though. I helped Mom prepare the meal, chopping vegetables while she marinated the chicken. We chatted about neighborhood gossip and her book club, easy conversation that required little effort. Dad eventually woke up and joined us, talking about a project he was working on in the garage. The twins burst through the door at 6, bringing with them a wave of energy and noise. They bickered about something that had happened, barely acknowledging my presence until Mom announced dinner was ready. Around the table, I listened to them talk about their day, waiting for the right moment. Finally, during a lull in conversation, I pulled the folder with my new apartment documents from my bag. I have some news, I said, unable to keep the smile off my face. I bought an apartment. I used my bonus for the down payment. I slid the papers onto the table, showing them photos of my new place. It's downtown, close to work. 2 bedrooms, great view. I move in next month. The silence that followed was deafening. Mom and Dad exchanged a look. Justin's fork paused halfway to his mouth. Sophia's smile froze. Dad cleared his throat. Don't you think you should have consulted with us first, Natalie? I blinked, confused. Why would I need to consult with you about buying my own apartment? Because we're family, Mom said, her voice taking on an edge I rarely heard. And families make important decisions together. But it's my money, I said slowly. I earned it. That bonus could have been put to better use, Dad said, pushing his plate away. The house needs a new roof, and Justin's still paying off his student loans. I stared at them, unable to believe what I was hearing. I've been helping you guys for years, I said. I paid for part of the twins' college tuition. I send you money every time you ask. And we're grateful, Mom said, though her tone suggested otherwise. But this seems selfish, Natalie. The word hung in the air between us. Selfish. Because I'd finally done something for myself after years of putting their needs first. Sophia wouldn't meet my eyes. Justin suddenly found his phone fascinating. Dad stared at his plate, jaw clenched. The rest of dinner passed in uncomfortable silence. I tried to start conversations but was met with one-word answers or nothing at all. When I stood to leave, no one tried to stop me. I guess I'll see you later, I said at the door. Dad grunted. Mom gave a tight nod. The twins didn't even look up. I drove home with tears blurring my vision, feeling like I'd done something terrible when all I'd done was buy myself a home. For the first time, I saw clearly what our relationship had become. I was an ATM, not a daughter or sister. 3 days of silence was all I could take. I missed my family despite everything, and the hurt had morphed into a determination to fix things. I drove to my parents' house unannounced on a Tuesday evening, rehearsing what I'd say the entire way there. When Mom opened the door, her surprise was evident. "Natalie? Hi. Can I come in?" I asked, forcing a smile. She stepped aside wordlessly. Inside, Dad was watching TV while the twins sat at the dining table with laptops open. All three looked up when I entered, their expressions a mix of surprise and wariness. "I wanted to invite you all out to dinner," I announced before I lost my nerve. "Saturday night at La Maison." "My treat. I thought we could talk things out." The silence stretched for an uncomfortable moment before Mom spoke. "La Maison? That fancy French place downtown?" I nodded. "I made reservations for 7. Justin and Sophia exchanged glances, a silent communication that excluded me, as always. "We'll be there," Dad finally said, his voice gruff. "Right, everyone?" Mom nodded, though her smile didn't reach her eyes. "Of course. That's very generous, Natalie." Saturday arrived, and I spent extra time getting ready, wanting to look my best. I wore my favorite dress and arrived at La Maison 15 minutes early to make sure everything was perfect. They showed up exactly on time, dressed in their finest clothes. Mom had even put on makeup, something she rarely bothered with. The waiter appeared to take our drink orders. Dad chose their most expensive scotch, Mom selected a pricey wine, the twins both ordered cocktails that cost more than an entire meal at our usual restaurant. I just smiled and ordered a glass of house wine. "So," I said after the waiter left, "I wanted to apologize if I upset you all with my apartment news. I should have discussed it with you first." The lie tasted bitter, but I wanted peace more than pride. Mom reached across the table to pat my hand. "We were just surprised, that's all. And a little hurt that you didn't include us in such a big decision." "I know," I said. "I'm sorry." Just like that, the tension dissolved. Dad started telling stories from work. Sophia showed me pictures from a party she'd attended. Justin talked about a job interview he had coming up. When dinner arrived, I wasn't surprised to see they'd all ordered the most expensive items on the menu: Dad's Wagyu steak, Mom's seafood platter, Sophia's truffle risotto, Justin's veal chops. The bill came to over $800, but seeing them laugh and talk with me again almost made it worth it. Almost. After that night, things returned to a familiar pattern, but with a noticeable shift. The requests for money became more frequent and for larger amounts. My parents called at least twice a week, always with some new expense they needed help with. The twins texted daily, their messages always ending with requests for cash. I kept track at first, documenting each transfer in a spreadsheet, but it became depressing to see how much I was giving them. I stopped looking at the totals. A few weeks later, during a Sunday dinner at my parents' house, Mom and Dad exchanged nervous glances throughout the meal. As I helped clear the dishes, Dad cleared his throat. "Natalie, your mother and I need to talk to you about something important." My stomach tightened. I sat back down at the table. Noticing this, the twins suddenly found excuses to leave the room. "What's going on?" I asked. Mom folded her hands on the table. "We're having trouble making ends meet, honey. The bills keep piling up, and with the house repairs last month." Dad cut in. "We were hoping you could send us about $2,000 a month. Just until things get better." I stared at them, processing the request. I could have pointed out that if Justin and Sophia got jobs, they wouldn't be in this situation. I could have reminded them that they were choosing to work part-time while supporting 2 able-bodied adults who contributed nothing financially. I could have said a lot of things. Instead, I heard myself say, "Okay. I can do that." The relief on their faces was immediate. Mom's eyes welled with tears. "You're such a good daughter," she said, squeezing my hand. "We don't know what we'd do without you." I set up the automatic transfer that evening. $2,000 on the first of every month, directly to my parents' account. I could afford it, even with my new mortgage, and if it brought peace to our family, maybe it was worth it. But as I clicked confirm on the transfer setup, something inside me shifted. A small voice in the back of my mind whispered that this wasn't right, that this wasn't how family was supposed to work. I ignored it. I was good at ignoring things when it came to my family. 6 months passed. The monthly transfers continued, and my family seemed happy. I was busy with a new major project at work, another opportunity to prove myself and potentially earn another bonus. My team was depending on me, and I was working longer hours than ever. Then came the dinner that changed everything. When I arrived at my parents' house that Sunday, they were all hunched around Dad's laptop, arguing excitedly. "The suite at the Four Seasons Milan has a better view," Sophia was saying. "But the Paris location is closer to the shopping districts," Justin countered. "What's going on?" I asked, setting my purse down. They jumped as if they'd forgotten I was coming. Mom quickly minimized the window on the laptop, but not before I caught a glimpse of luxury hotel websites. "Oh, Natalie, you're here," Mom said, a slight flush creeping up her neck. "We were just looking at vacation options." "Europe?" I asked, hanging up my coat. Mom nodded. "We've been thinking about taking a family trip. Your father and I are exhausted from work, and the twins need a break from job hunting." I bit back a laugh. A break from job hunting? They'd been out of college for over a year. "Anyway," Sophia cut in, "we've already picked out the perfect itinerary. 2 weeks, hitting all the major cities: London, Paris, Rome, Milan. The hotels are absolutely gorgeous. It's only about $28,000 for all 4 of us," Justin added casually. I blinked. "Wait. 4? Aren't I included?" An awkward silence fell. Mom and Dad exchanged looks. "Well, honey," Mom finally said, "we know how busy you are with work and your project is so important. We didn't think you could get away," Dad finished for her, not meeting my eyes. The realization hit me like a physical blow. "You want me to pay for your vacation but don't want me to come with you?" "When you put it like that, it sounds bad," Sophia said with a nervous laugh. "How else should I put it?" I asked, my voice rising. "You expect me to shell out $28,000 so you can all go to Europe without me?" "You make good money now," Mom said, her voice hardening. "And family helps family." "I have a mortgage now," I reminded them. "And utilities, and property taxes. I can't just throw away $28,000 on a vacation I'm not even invited to." Dad's face darkened. "So your fancy apartment is more important than your family's happiness?" "That's not what I said," I protested. "But this is ridiculous. You work part-time by choice. The twins don't work at all. Maybe if everyone got full-time jobs, you could pay for your own vacation." The room went silent. Mom's lips pressed into a thin line. Dad stood up abruptly. "I think you should leave," he said quietly. "We don't want to hear anymore." I gathered my things, hands shaking with anger and hurt. No one spoke as I walked to the door. No one said. As I drove home, tears streamed down my face, but they weren't sad tears. They were angry ones. For the first time, I was truly seeing my family for what they were. A week passed. Then another. They didn't call, and I wasn't ready to apologize. This time, I had nothing to apologize for. But as my birthday approached, I found myself missing them despite everything. "Maybe they've had time to think," I told myself as I dialed Mom's number. "Maybe they'll see how unreasonable they were being." The phone rang 4 times before she picked up. "Natalie," she said, her voice neutral. "Hi, Mom. I just wanted to let you know that my birthday is next Saturday, and I've reserved a table at La Maison. I'd like you all to come." I held my breath, waiting. There was a pause. "What time?" 7. "I've got the private room in the back. We'll be there," she said after another pause. "No happy early birthday. No, we've missed you. Just a flat statement of attendance." I spent the week preparing for my birthday dinner. I bought a new dress, emerald green silk that cost more than I'd normally spend, but it was a special occasion. I even splurged on having my hair and makeup done professionally. At 6:45 on Saturday evening, I arrived at La Maison. The hostess showed me to the private room I'd reserved. I ordered a glass of champagne and settled in. 7 o'clock came and went. Then 7:30. By 8 o'clock, I was on my third glass of champagne and had called each family member twice, with no answer. At 8:30, the waiter approached hesitantly. "Ma'am, would you like to order? The kitchen will be closing the main service soon." "Just a few more minutes," I said, my cheeks burning with embarrassment. "They'll be here." By 9 o'clock, I knew they weren't coming. I paid for my drinks and the room fee, tipped the staff generously for their patience, and left with as much dignity as I could muster. In my car, I checked my phone one more time. No calls. No texts. But just as I was about to drive away, a notification popped up. A message from Mom. My hand shook as I opened it. "This is what happens when you're selfish and don't help your family. Maybe next time you'll think twice before saying no to us. Happy birthday." I stared at the message, unable to believe what I was reading. They had deliberately stood me up on my birthday to teach me a lesson for not paying for their vacation. That night, I made two decisions. First, I opened my banking app and canceled the automatic $2,000 monthly transfer to my parents. Second, I called a lawyer. The next week passed in a blur of work and quiet evenings alone. No calls from family. No texts. No emails. It was peaceful, if a bit lonely. Until the following Sunday, when my phone exploded with notifications. Missed calls from Mom, Dad, Justin, and Sophia. Voicemails. Text messages. All within the span of an hour. I ignored them all day, focusing instead on a report I needed to finish for work. But by evening, curiosity got the better of me. I listened to the first voicemail. "Natalie, it's Mom. The money didn't arrive in our account this month. There must be some mistake. Call me back immediately." The second, "Natalie, we're waiting for your call. The bank says there's no pending transfer. This is serious." By the fifth message, Mom was frantic. "We have bills due tomorrow. What are we supposed to do? Call us right now." I waited until 10 p.m., then called back. Mom answered on the first ring. "Where have you been? We've been trying to reach you all day. The money didn't come through. We have utility bills." "I canceled the transfers," I said, cutting her off. There was a moment of stunned silence. "You what?" Her voice was barely a whisper. "I canceled the monthly transfers. I'm not sending money anymore." But why?" "We need that money. We'll lose the house." "You stood me up on my birthday to punish me," I said, my voice steady despite the anger bubbling in my chest. "And then you had the nerve to text me that it was a lesson." "That's not true," Mom protested. "We were just upset about the vacation. We didn't mean anything by it. It was just a joke." I laughed, a sharp sound with no humor. "Some joke. Leaving your daughter alone in a restaurant on her birthday. We're sorry, okay? We made a mistake. But please, Natalie, we really need that money. We don't have enough for utilities." "That's not my problem anymore," I said. "Maybe it's time for Dad to work full-time. Maybe it's time for Justin and Sophia to get jobs, any jobs, instead of waiting for their dream careers to fall into their laps. I'm done." I hung up and blocked their numbers. Then I blocked them on social media and in my email. The next morning, I warned security at my office and the doorman at my building that my family members might try to contact me and that I didn't want to see them. Sure enough, they tried. Dad showed up at my office 2 days later. Sophia waited outside my building the day after that. I walked past them without a word each time, their pleas falling on deaf ears. Through mutual relatives, I heard that life had gotten tough for them. Dad had to take on full-time hours. The electricity was cut off for a week when they couldn't pay the bill. Justin and Sophia were applying for retail jobs, complaining the whole time about how they were overqualified. I felt no sympathy. They had made their choices, just as I had made mine. Now, sitting in my lawyer's office, finalizing the restraining order and financial protection documents, I feel nothing but relief. The family that once consumed my life, drained my bank account, and manipulated my emotions has no more power over me. They wanted to teach me a lesson about family? Well, I learned it. And now, they're learning one too. 1 year later, I stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows of my corner office, watching the city lights flicker to life in the dusk. The nameplate on my desk read, Director of Strategic Operations, my second promotion in 18 months. Behind me, a small group of my team members were gathering their things, chatting and laughing after our successful project launch celebration. Natalie, you coming to dinner? Lisa, my deputy director, called out. The whole team's going to that new bistro on 7th. I smiled, turning away from the window. Wouldn't miss it. As we walked to the restaurant, I checked my phone out of habit. No missed calls, no desperate texts asking for money, no emotional manipulation. Just a reminder about my morning yoga class and a message from my therapist confirming next week's final session. The last year had transformed my life in ways I never imagined possible. Without the constant drain of supporting my family, I'd thrown myself into my career with renewed focus. The results spoke for themselves: 2 promotions, a growing investment portfolio, and a reputation as one of the company's rising stars. But the biggest changes weren't financial. I'd started therapy, joined a book club, took up yoga, and even started dating again. My apartment had become a real home, filled with art I loved and furniture I chose just for me. On weekends, I hosted dinner parties for my new friends or took day trips to nearby towns just because I could. The contrast with my family's situation couldn't have been starker. Through mutual acquaintances, I heard the full extent of their downfall. After the utilities were cut off, they'd had to take out high-interest loans just to keep the lights on. Dad was working full-time at the hardware store, plus weekends at a local warehouse. Mom had been forced to take a job as a receptionist, her first real job in decades. The twins? Reality had hit them hard. Justin was stocking shelves at a grocery store, while Sophia worked the morning shift at a coffee shop. Their social media accounts, once full of parties and shopping sprees, had gone quiet. No more designer clothes, no more fancy restaurants, no more endless leisure time. They'd tried to reach out a few times. Mom sent a tearful letter begging for reconciliation. Dad attempted to corner me after work one day, claiming they were about to lose the house. The twins took turns sending guilt-tripping emails about how hard their lives had become. I returned the letter unopened. Had security escort Dad out. Blocked the twins' new email addresses. Natalie? Lisa's voice pulled me back to the present. We'd arrived at the bistro. You okay? You zoned out for a minute there. Never better, I replied, and I meant it. Inside, my team had pushed together several tables to accommodate everyone. As I looked around at these people, hardworking, supportive, genuine friends who celebrated my successes and supported me through challenges, I felt a warmth that had nothing to do with obligation or guilt. Speech, someone called out as the wine was being poured. I stood, raising my glass. To the best team anyone could ask for. This project's success belongs to all of us. Thank you for your dedication, your creativity, and most of all, for showing me what real support looks like. The evening flew by in a blur of good food, better conversation, and genuine laughter. When I finally got home, I kicked off my heels and poured myself a nightcap, settling onto my balcony to enjoy the city view. My phone buzzed, a text from Lisa, lunch tomorrow? The cute barista who always flirts with you is working. I smiled, typing back a quick yes. Before, I would have checked with my family first, made sure no one needed anything. Now, my time was my own. A week later, I sat in my therapist's office for our final session. How are you feeling about everything? She asked. I thought about the last year, the hard decisions, the painful growth, the newfound freedom. I feel strong, I said. Like I finally know who I am without them defining me. And the guilt? Gone, I replied, surprising myself with how true it was. They made their choices. I made mine. As if on cue, my phone lit up with a notification. A mutual friend had shared a local news article, my old neighborhood's community paper. There was my family's house, a for sale, bank-owned sign prominently displayed in the front yard. I felt nothing. No guilt, no sadness, no responsibility to fix it. Later that evening, as I was getting ready for a date with the cute barista, whose name was Michael and who did, in fact, make the best lattes in town, I found an old photo tucked in my jewelry box. My family at my college graduation, all smiles and proud poses. The perfect family portrait. I took the photo and dropped it in the shredder without hesitation. Sometimes, the happiest endings come not from reconciliation, but from having the courage to walk away. Sometimes, the best family is the one you choose for yourself. And sometimes, the strongest thing you can do is let toxic people face the consequences of their own actions. My phone buzzed again. Michael, can't wait to see you tonight. I smiled, checking my reflection one last time. The woman in the mirror looked happy, confident, free. She looked nothing like the anxious, guilt-ridden daughter who used to send money she couldn't afford to people who never appreciated her. She looked like someone who had finally learned her own worth. And that was worth more than all the family bonds in the world.